Most hunters walk right past the signs that lead straight to turkeys. But if you know what to look for, the woods will tell you exactly where the birds are. Here are 5 turkey signs that can help you find them. Right here is one of the easiest turkey signs to overlook when you're walking through the woods. Scratch leaves. Turkeys feed by kicking the forest floor backward with both feet, exposing whatever food is hiding underneath. When you see leaves thrown back like this along a trail, ridge, or oak flat, it usually means birds have been feeding through this exact area not very long ago. Now take a closer look at the ground here. See how the leaves are pushed back and the darker soil is exposed underneath. That's exactly what turkey scratching looks like up close. Turkeys rake the forest floor looking for acorns, seeds, insects, and other small food hiding in the leaf litter. When the scratching is fresh like this, the leaves still look scattered and the soil hasn't blended back in yet. Another thing to pay attention to in these scratching areas is turkey tracks. When birds spend time feeding like this, they almost always leave tracks in the exposed soil. These 3-toed prints are a clear sign turkeys have been moving through here. If you follow the direction the tracks are pointing, they can often show you exactly where the birds traveled next. This is exactly what it looks like when turkeys are actively feeding in an area like this. They slowly move through the woods, kicking leaves back with both feet, uncovering acorns, insects, and other food hiding under the forest floor. When you start finding several fresh scratching patches close together, it usually means a flock has been feeding through recently, and that makes this a great place to slow down, listen, and start watching for birds. Before daylight, turkeys usually spend the night roosted high in trees like this. They choose strong horizontal branches where they can stay safe from predators while they rest through the night. As the sky starts getting brighter in the early morning, birds will begin waking up and shifting around on the limb. If you can locate these roost trees ahead of time, you already know exactly where the birds are going to begin their morning. When the woods finally get just bright enough to see, turkeys will leave the roost in what hunters call the fly down. Instead of dropping straight to the ground, they usually glide down from the tree using their wings to control the descent. This normally happens shortly after sunrise, and birds tend to land somewhere nearby where they can immediately begin feeding for the morning. Many times it won't be just one bird leaving the roost. Entire groups of turkeys can fly down one after another from the same tree line. Hens usually fly down first, and gobblers will often stay on the limb a little longer before finally joining them. Watching several birds launch like this can quickly reveal the direction the whole flock plans to travel once they reach the ground. Once the birds reach the ground, they usually begin spreading out and slowly working through the woods looking for food. This early morning period right after fly down is when turkeys are some of the most active. They'll often start feeding close to where they landed before gradually moving off through the area, which makes this one of the best times to already be in position nearby. One of the best places to locate gobblers during the spring is what hunters call a strut zone. These are naturally open areas in the woods where turkeys feel comfortable displaying and interacting with hens. Gobblers prefer spots like this where they can see well in multiple directions. When you start finding open hardwood ridges or clear forest floors like this, you're looking at the kind of place a gobbler is very likely to use. This is exactly what a gobbler looks like when he's using a strut zone. He spreads his tail, drops his wings, and slowly circles while trying to attract hens. These open areas give him enough space to show off while still keeping a good view of the surroundings. Gobblers will often return to the same strut zones day after day during the breeding season. Strut zones don't just attract gobblers. Hens travel through these same areas as they move through the woods. Because the ground is open and easy to walk through, flocks often pass through places like this while feeding or traveling. Gobblers know this, which is exactly why they choose these spots to display and wait for hens to appear. When turkeys start gathering in a spot like this, it often becomes a regular meeting place for the flock. Gobblers will strut while hens feed nearby, and the birds may spend quite a bit of time working through the area. If you locate one of these natural strut zones ahead of time, it can become a very predictable place to encounter turkeys. One of the clearest signs that a gobbler has been strutting in an area is something called wing drag marks. When a gobbler spreads his tail and lowers his wings during a strut, the tips of those wings actually scrape across the forest floor as he moves around. Over time, this leaves long curved lines through the leaves and dirt. When you start noticing marks like this in an open patch of woods, it's a very strong clue that a gobbler has been displaying here recently. If you look closely at the ground, you'll usually see two long curved lines running through the leaves or soil. Those are the spots where the gobbler's wings have dragged while he was strutting. Because turkeys repeat the same display behavior again and again, These marks can sometimes appear in several places across the same clearing. Fresh drag marks usually look clean and sharply defined, while older ones slowly fill back in with leaves. This is exactly how those marks are created. When a gobbler goes into a full strut, he drops his wings low enough that the tips touch the ground. As he slowly turns and circles while displaying for hens, those wings scrape across the forest floor. Every step leaves a faint line behind him, and over time those movements can carve visible drag marks across the leaves. When you start finding wing drag marks in an open patch of woods, it often means you've located one of the gobbler's regular display spots. Gobblers tend to return to the same strut zones repeatedly during the breeding season. That makes places like this extremely valuable to remember, because a bird that used this area once is very likely to come back again. One thing turkeys almost always follow as they move through the woods are natural travel routes. These are areas where the terrain makes it easy for birds to walk, like open hardwood ridges, logging paths, or gentle slopes through the forest. Turkeys prefer moving through places where they can see ahead and walk comfortably without fighting thick brush. When you start noticing stretches of woods like this that naturally guide movement, there's a good chance turkeys are traveling through them regularly. As turkeys move from their roost trees toward feeding areas or strut zones, they often travel along these same routes day after day. Hens usually lead the group, with gobblers trailing behind or following the flock. Because these birds rely on good visibility and easy walking, they tend to stick to open corridors like this rather than pushing through heavy cover. That predictable movement is exactly what makes travel routes so useful for hunters to understand. One of the easiest ways to recognize a turkey travel route is by looking for tracks along the ground. When birds repeatedly move through the same corridor, they leave prints in soft soil, dirt patches, or along lightly worn paths through the leaves. Seeing multiple tracks pointing the same direction is a strong clue that turkeys are regularly passing through that area as they move between feeding spots, roost trees, and strut zones. When you start identifying these natural travel routes, they become excellent places to set up and wait for birds to pass through. Instead of wandering the woods hoping to find turkeys, you can position yourself along one of these corridors and let the birds come to you. Because turkeys often follow the same paths while moving through their territory, a well-chosen travel route can put you right in the middle of their daily movement. And that's 5 turkey signs that can help you locate birds in the woods. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this field guide, be sure to like and subscribe for more outdoor tips.